They both work in City Hall, but their true passions are
Noise music.
noise music and underground politics. Welcome to this week's Read This Next with Laura and Nicole. This week we are talking about books that are offbeat, wildcards, not your norm genre. So I'll let Laura tell you a bit about that.
Yeah, so what we mean by offbeat is just books that don't really fit easily into like one genre category, or books that are, if you try to describe them to someone, they would be kind of like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it really is just ones that we've come across that are have sort of unusual premises or unusual formats in one particular example, that we thought would be a fun sort of walk outside the lines for readers who would be willing to check them out. We're excited to share these picks with you. There's some ones that we found very intriguing.
Oh yeah.
We think you will as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's something for everybody in this episode.
I think so.
Okay, so I think we agreed I'm starting this one
with
Talking Animals by Joni Murphy. So the description says, a fable for modern times, Talking Animals takes place in an all-animal world where creatures rather like us are forced to deal with an all too familiar landscape of soul-crushing jobs, polluted oceans, and a creeping sense of doom.
Sounds very familiar.
Sounds very familiar. It's New York City now-ish. Lemurs brew espresso, birds tend bar, and there are bears on Wall Street, and a billionaire racehorse is mayor. Sea creatures are viewed with fear and disgust, and there's chatter about building a wall to keep them out. The main character, Alfonso, is a moody alpaca. His friend Mitchell is a llama. They both work in City Hall, but their true passions are
noise music.
Our noise music and underground politics. Partly to meet girls, partly because the world might be ending, these lowly bureaucrats embark on an unlikely mission to expose the corrupt system that's destroying the city from within. Their project takes them from the city's bowels to its extremities, where they encounter the Sea Equality Revolutionary Front, who are either a group of dangerous radicals or an inspiring liberation movement.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't read these descriptions ahead of time. They're just so bizarre.
It is bizarre. There's more on the next page.
Oh, okay, I will continue then. Oh,
just a little.
In this novel, at last, nature kvetches and grieves while talking animals offer us a kind of solace in the guise of dumb jokes. This is a mass extinction as told by BoJack Horseman. This is the fantastic Mr. Fox journeying through Kafka's America. This, dogs and cats living together. Talking Animals is an urgent allegory about friendship, art, and the elemental struggle to change one's life under the low ceiling of capitalism. Yeah, that sells it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sounds very
for adults.
Strange. It is categorized as literary fiction. Clearly sounds very literary. Yeah. Satirical fiction.
Offbeat.
Offbeat. Yes, it's offbeat.
Yeah, that one just sounds like a riot.
Okay, so our next one actually coincidentally also involves animals. It is called Other People's Pets by R.L. Mazes. And it's about a human person, Lala Fine, who relates to animals better than she does to other people. Abandoned by a mother who never wanted a family, raised by a locksmith turned thief father, Lala looks to pets when it feels like the rest of the world conspires against her. Yeah, they won't let you down.
They won't.
So she was, lived with her mother when she was a very young child. She was abandoned twice by her mother, ends up living with her father. this is the thief, she's
Yep.
denied a regular life, becomes her father's accomplice, calming the watchdogs while he strips families of their most precious belongings. When her
Daughter
father's
bonding time.
It is bonding time.
Yeah.
When her father's luck runs out and he is arrested for burglary, everything Lala has painstakingly built unravels. In her 4th year of veterinary school, she is forced to drop out, leaving school to pay for her father's legal fees the only way she knows how, robbing homes again. And that all sounds sort of like, okay, like that's an interesting premise, but like what makes it, why would you include this on your list of offbeat ones? Well, it's because she can talk to animals.
Wow, that's how she's calming them.
That's how she's calming them. She has a mental connection with animals. So she rationalizes her thefts by focusing on houses with pets whose maladies only she can sense and caring for them before leaving the family's valuables. Leaving with the family's valuables, sorry.
So it's payment for her services.
That's right.
That's
the
cute.
News reports a puzzled police force searching for a thief who left behind medicine for the dog, water for the parrot, or food for the hamster.
That's so sweet. But that sounds really good.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Examines the gap between the families we're born into and those we create, and the danger that holding on to a troubled past may rob us of the future.
Wow. An offbeat story with a message.
Indeed. Yes.
Very cute. Okay.
I mean, I'm always up for stories that tell us what our pets are thinking.
Yes. Percy Jackson. Love that. Which one was I going to talk about? Okay.
Ask me anything. No animals in this one.
No. But the author's name is PZ Resin? Maybe. Sure. Anyways, from the author of Happiness for Humans, a romantic comedy for the technology age, a young woman unlucky in love gets a little help from the most unlikely of places to find her perfect match. Wouldn't it be great if everyone had a team of smart machines to handle all the messy emotional stuff? When you consider how many quadrillions of hours when you consider how many quadrillions of hours of human drudgery have been eradicated by the invention of only the dishwasher, the washing machine, and the fridge freezer, it is absurd to imagine a scenario in which household appliances bring the same, yes, genius, to bear on the slow motion car crash that is, for many young people, the romantic side of their lives. I feel like that was a really long sentence question, but
it was quite long, but you didn't write it, so
no, that's all good. If they are
at fault.
Yeah, not me. If they are content to leave their dishes dirty linen and food refrigeration to a smart technology, how much of a stretch is it for machines to take care of their emotional needs?
Fun. And I have to say, I don't think that description is very great, because I just want to clarify that the character is using the smart devices in the house that are described, like in that description, like the smart refrigerator and this and that, to organize care for an aging parent. And then unbeknownst to her, the devices are secretly working to, find her a partner and, assist the household. This kind of makes it sound like she's made a decision to give her romantic life to the home appliances, but no, it's that the home appliances are all like, oh, well, we know them so well because we live with them all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe we can help.
I love that. That sounds way better than the description I just read, which was 3 very long questions. It sounds very Brave Little Toaster. For love.
It sounds kind of fun.
Yeah. That sounds cute.
Okay, next one is actually book 1 in a series. And these books we've talked about are all 2020 books. They're all new. So this one is called Gravity is Heartless by Sarah Leahy. And it's a near future science fiction climate change apocalypse sort of read. It's a romantic adventure as well, because, even at the end of the world, at the cusp of climate catastrophe, there will still be romantic adventures, because that's how we are. Okay, so here's the description. The year is 2050. Automated cities, vehicles, and homes are now standard. Artificial intelligence, CRISPR gene editing, and quantum computing have become a reality, and climate change is in full swing. All the issues that we sadly anticipate. Yeah. So our main character, Quinn Byers, is a climate scientist who'd rather be studying the clouds than getting ready for a wedding day. But when an unexpected tragedy causes her to lose everything, including her famous scientist mother, she embarks upon a quest for answers that takes her across the globe, and she uncovers friends, loss, and love in the most unexpected places along the way. Gravity is Heartless is bold, speculative fiction that sheds a hard light on the treatment of our planet, even as it offers a breathtaking sense of hope for the future.
Nice.
Also, there's time travel.
Yes. That's what I needed. Time travel. We've got
That's
contemporary.
What you need to sell it to you.
Yeah, we've got contemporary. We've got talking animals. Now we've got time travel.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great episode.
Mixed
I'm here for
bag.
it.
Yes.
Okay, do we want to do our... Oh, wait, we've got two more. Two more. Okay, so I will read you Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith. He also wrote Rabbit and Robot, which is fairly new. And I believe he writes a lot of LGBTQ stories. I think that's the author I'm thinking of.
And he's written, he writes like genre stuff, and then he's also written some contemporary fiction. There was the series Winger that was quite... won awards and stuff a couple years back.
With the dude on the cover, right?
The dude on the cover with the bloody nose.
Yeah. Those are YA. He's mostly a YA author. Oops, it's telling me I can't minimize Zoom. I didn't mean to. Okay, here we go. 16-year-old Austin Serba interweaves the story of his Polish legacy with the story of how he and his best friend Robbie brought about the end of humanity and the rise of an army of unstoppable 6-foot-tall praying mantises in the small town of Iowa. To make matters worse, Austin's hormones are totally oblivious. They don't care that the world is in utter chaos. Austin is in love with his girlfriend, Shan, but remains confused about his sexual orientation. He's stewing in a self-professed constant state of maximum horniness directed at both Robbie and Shan. And ultimately, it is up to Austin to save the world and propagate the species in this high-fright journey of survival, sex, and the complex realities of the human condition.
Lots going on there.
Yeah.
Yes. Ridiculous. Lots going on.
Yeah.
And yes, the book is about praying mantises, even though it is called Grasshopper Jungle.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. I think it's because I from what I read about other descriptions, I think it's actually multiple insects have taken over, or they're eating insects, I think. I don't remember.
I have read this book and I honestly don't. Yeah. And I don't remember why it is Grasshopper Jungle instead of...
Interesting.
Maybe it just sounds better than Praying Mantis Jungle.
Mantis Jungle sounds pretty cool. So I don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah.
There's a mystery for someone who wants to read that Offbeat
book. Put it in the comments below. Tell us why it's called Grasshopper Jungle instead of Mantis Jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last highlight. This is another adult book. It is called Hearts of Oak. It is apparently a delightful science fiction adventure. Whimsical, thought-provoking, more science fiction. The description is quite short, but I think gives you kind of a feel for what kind of story it is. The buildings grow and the city expands, and the people of the land are starting to behave abnormally. Or perhaps they've always behaved that way, and it's normality that's at fault. And the king of the land confers with his best friend, who happens to be his closest advisor, who also happens to be a talking cat. But that's all perfectly natural and not at all weird. And when the chief architect, Iona, wakes from a long period of blindly accepting the status quo, she realizes there's a mystery to be solved. A strange, somewhat bizarre mystery, to be sure, but no less dangerous for its improbability. And the cat is almost certainly involved.
Wow. Another talking animal.
Another talking animal. There's a bit of a theme that popped up in our highlight section here.
Maybe we just like cats.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe. We just like talking animals.
We just like Dr. Doolittle. Oh, I can't speak. Let us move on to our recommendations.
Certainly.
Okay. I think you were going to start.
I was going to start. Okay, so this particular book has a great cover, and it kind of illustrates all of the weird things that are on the cover are things that come up in the book. So that just from looking at the cover, you get an idea. So the book is called The Hike, and it's by Drew McGarry. And it has elements of like fairy tales and also video games. And it's an riveting, unforgettable adventure of what a man will endure to return to his family. So it's in some ways, it's a very, very simple book because it's just about a man going on a hike. But in other ways, it is not at all simple. So I'm going to read some of the description. So when Ben, a suburban family man, takes a business trip to rural Pennsylvania, he decides to spend the afternoon before his dinner meeting on a short hike. Once he sets out into the woods behind his hotel, he quickly comes to realize that the path he has chosen cannot be given up easily. With no choice but to move forward, Ben finds himself falling deeper and deeper into a world of man-eating giants, bizarre demons, and colossal insects.
More insects.
Yes. On a quest of epic life or death proportions, Ben finds help comes in some of the most unexpected forms, including a profane crustacean and a variety of magical objects, tools, and potions. Desperate to return to his family, Ben is determined to track down the producer, the creator of the world in which he is being held hostage, and the only one who can free him from the path.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah.
It's very unusual. The tones jump around. Like there's some real like emotional sort of stuff about the relationships, like when he wants to get back to his family. Mm-hmm. And then there's some really absurd stuff. There's a few moments that just, I guess, trigger warning that are, I don't know if that are quite just frightening, just like really frightening images and moments that come up. And really interesting, different. I recommend it. It's something very odd.
All right. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I spontaneously just now have decided to change my rec. Sure. I was originally going to recommend the Nose Pickers from Outer Space by Gordon Corman, which I still recommend. I read it when I was very young, and it's about this guy gets a foreign exchange student, and he turns out to be an alien, but they're like kind of robots. So whenever he like picks his nose, he's actually like pushing buttons to like do things because their noses are like, their brains are computers essentially. But I am actually going to recommend Libba Bray's Going Bovine. I know we briefly talked about her. Well, not briefly. We talked about her in our last few episodes ago for Beauty Queens, but I wanted to mention Going Bovine, which short summary, it's about a boy who starts kind of losing his mind a little bit. So I'll read you the description and put the image here because it's fabulous. It's a cow holding a gnome. Okay, so it says, can Cameron find what he's looking for? All 16-year-old Cameron wants is to get through high school and life in general with minimum effort. It's not a lot to ask, but that's before he's given some bad news. He's sick and he's going to die, which totally sucks. Hope arrives in the winged form of Dulcie, a loopy punk angel / possible hallucination with a bad sugar habit. She tells Cam there is a cure if he's willing to go and search for it. With the help of a death-obsessed video gaming dwarf and a yard gnome, Cam sets off on the mother of all road trips through a twisted America into the heart of what matters the most. This book was just weird to me. Like it was such a weird book, but I what can I say? I enjoyed it so much. It's a bit sad because he is sick and they're trying to find a cure for it, and he's actually has mad cow disease, which is why it's called Going Bovine. So it's very good. I would check it out, but it's not I feel like our actual recs are a little bit sad compared to our highlights, but they're both it's a weird but wonderful book. Yeah. Nose Pickers from Outer Space is not sad.
Going Bovine was also a big award winner, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Yes, it did. It did quite well. Like in terms of
Laura, you gave it a 1-star review.
what? Going Bovine?
Yeah, it says rated it 1 star.
I didn't like it.
What?
I wasn't gonna say anything.
That's so
You
funny.
really enjoyed it.
I did.
But
I like everything that Libba Bray writes. That's so funny though. Why didn't you like it? Because maybe the readers will agree or disagree with you.
Honestly, it was a long time ago that I read it. I don't know what date my review says there, but it was not recently.
2010.
Yes. So it's been 10 years. So to me, I don't exactly remember what I didn't like about it. And I probably didn't write a review.
No,
I usually don't, especially if I didn't like it. I don't want to write a review. But I really didn't like it.
Fair.
Because I don't give 1 star.
It's really weird. Like I said, it's probably not for everybody, but you know, if it hits you, it hits you. And it didn't hit Laura, but it hit me. So
it did work for lots of people. Like I said, it got really good reviews, won awards. I just didn't work for me.
That's all good. Maybe it was even in the time of life you were in. You were in zombie land then.
I mostly was in zombie land in 2010.
There you go.
It's true.
So check it out if you're like me, and don't check it out if you're like Laura. Just kidding.
Yeah. Okay, so on to a book I did like.
Yes.
Okay, so this is also actually an older rec for me, a book that I read a long time ago, but I've reread since then. So when I was in grad school, for my master's degree, not my English master's degree, not my library master's degree, I took a course, and the professor was writing a book on an author, and that author was Julian Barnes. And he was writing it like kind of an analysis of his work. So because this is how it works when you're a professor and you can choose what the class is going to be about, he was writing a book on it. So he was like, that's what this course is going to be about exclusively. So every chapter we just did every week we did a different Julian Barnes book.
Oh, that's that so much was reading.
The whole class.
Wow.
Yes. Luckily, Julian Barnes is amazing. He's a great author. Yeah. Yes, thank goodness, because we read, like, how many weeks is a semester? I don't know. We read like 8 or 9. Yeah, we read like 8 or 9 Julian Barnes books in 8 or 9 weeks. So it was a lot. Really good though. And honestly, I'd recommend all of his books. Many of them are a little offbeat in different ways. But for this particular one, I wanted to highlight his one that is kind of has the most experimental structure, or one of his 2 that are the most experimental, really, probably. Anyway, all that to say, this book is called A History of the World in 10.5 chapters. Just a small topic, you know. Yeah.
Easy to cover.
Right. It's not a big, thick book. It's quite just a slim little regular novel. It was first published in 1989, actually. And it's basically a bunch of short stories that are thematically linked. So just to tell you a little bit about it. So the very first chapter is called The Stowaway. And it falls right in my wheelhouse as being one of my like hyper specific topics that I like to read about, in that it is a Noah's Ark retelling.
What? That's a topic that you really like?
I love it. I love a Noah's Ark retelling.
Wow. That's something I wouldn't have considered there being a lot of.
There aren't a lot, but I will read any I find.
You've read them all.
And this starts with one. Basically, in some ways, this whole book is a Noah's Ark retelling. But the first one in particular, it's an alternate account of the story of Noah's Ark from the perspective of a stowaway on the Ark. And you might think like, oh, what kind of stowaway is it, right? Is it some humans who weren't supposed to be there, or is this another talking animals book that we've managed to fit in?
Or an insect one.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so an animal an animal that was not invited on the ark. Offhand, what kind of animal might that be? A woodworm.
Oh, a woodworm. I can see why it wouldn't be.
Right? Why they wouldn't have necessarily been invited.
Yeah. Termites.
But they snuck on anyway.
Rotten.
Well, I mean, they didn't bring it down or anything. So
that's good.
That's good. But so the first chapter is that from the woodworm's perspective. And then it goes forward, and there's other stories that are about, many of them are about journeys, boat journeys, different kinds of journeys. There's one chapter that it's just so interesting because it's actually an analysis, like a critical analysis of a famous painting.
Oh, what painting?
It's The Raft of the Medusa. You might not like looking at it too much because it's a shipwreck raft with people aren't happy on the raft because they've been shipwrecked. But so in the book itself, it has like a little fold out of the painting so you can look at it as he's talking, and he kind of analyzes the different men on the boat. And I think the first half of that chapter gives you the historical events, and then the second half is an analysis of the painting. And it's just like weird and interesting thing to come across in your fiction reading, right? Like, let's just take a break for some art criticism.
Yeah. Just pop out for a sec.
Yes, let's just take a break and talk about art criticism. And also, like, again, the same sort of themes of survival, and the sort of the clean and the unclean, and all these things that, like, if you're familiar with the Noah's Ark story, you'll see how they echo throughout. And then I don't want to tell you about what they're all about because that's the fun. But those are two examples. And then the half a chapter, because it's History of the World in 10.5 chapters, is just a short little. It's called Parentheses, and it's just kind of a reflection, a rumination, a discussion of love.
Oh, very sweet.
Yeah. And it's written like as being said to you by Julian Barnes. But of course, there's nothing to say there's no reason why that can't have been like it's a creation, it's a version of Julian Barnes, not necessarily what he himself thinks. Just really interesting, very interesting. It sounds, I hope it doesn't sound like it's like it doesn't take a lot of work to read it. It's not like it's not like homework reading. He is like a literary author, right? When I like a big name and all that, but parts of it are genuinely quite funny. And just interesting. It does make you think. I think you could just read it through and it would be fun and interesting. But if you want to kind of reflect on the connections between the chapters and everything, there's lots to pull out of there. So that's my and like high points to all Julian Barnes books. They're all great, but that's the one in particular I wanted to shout out for our Offbeat.
I love it. All of these books, I like I said, every week I love all the books we talk about, but this one in particular, it's just, they sound so bizarre and like, I know, they tickle your brain in a way that you're like, I need to know more about these giant mantises and talking llamas. The talking llama one is probably something I'm going to read over the Christmas holidays. Yeah. Yes.
I feel like the one for me might be the appliances that are trying to help.
We'll report back New Year and let you know what we think about them.
Get their lives together. Yes.
Yeah. So unless we have anything to add, this has been the end of our Offbeat and Wildcard episode. We're here every Fridays at 2 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook at TBayPL. Across all social media is where you can find the library. You can comment and let us know what you want to talk about us to talk about in a later episode, or just give us a thumbs up, or
suggest your own offbeat wildcard reads.
Yeah, tell everybody else what you've read this week, or what you think that should have made it on the episode but didn't. And of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, because that way you can find our videos super easily. Our show notes, which have all the titles, authors, all the details, are at www.tbplofftheshelf.com. And I think that's everything.
I think that's everything too.
All right, then we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.